everybody, and thank you for joining us today for our webinar. Now, before we begin, I just want to do a couple of housekeeping items for everyone. So those of you that are attending as participants, everyone has been muted for the portion of the webinar. So you don't have to worry about your camera coming on surprisingly or your mic being turned on. You can actually just sit back, relax, and enjoy all the information we're going to share with you over the next little bit. We do want you to engage with us and have those questions answered. So there is a Q&A feature available within this presentation. If you do have questions, please submit your questions throughout the webinar today using the Q&A feature, which is located on the bottom of the navigation bar. Alternatively, you can use the chat feature. The Q&A, however, does work best as we can either answer questions to you directly through this feature, or we can answer them live as we work through the information available in this webinar today. Just so you're aware, this information session is for students, families, and their supporters who are exploring our consecutive education program at Lakehead University. Also, please be aware we are all still working from home at this time, and we have a student on the line with us as well, and you'll see she is studying from home as well. And as a result, there is sometimes some unexpected or unavoidable noises that come in or happen. Dogs, kids, fire trucks, all sorts of things we've had happen on these webinars. So please be patient with us. We are doing our best to kind of make sure those noises do not take place in the webinars, but stuff happens sometimes. And lastly, before we get started, please be aware that this webinar is recorded today, so we can make it available to individuals that were not able to attend. Awesome. Well, welcome everyone, and we thank you for taking the time to learn a little bit more about Lakehead University and our two exceptional campuses, both our Thunder Bay and our Raleigh campus. Before we get started too far, I want to do some introductions and let you know who's joining us on this event today. Myself, I'm Tori White, and I have a colleague of mine, Melissa, on the line with me as well. She's just giving you a quick wave. We are representing the undergraduate recruitment team on the webinar today, and we're just really here to help, support, and guide. We are not the experts, so I brought the big guns in today to help us with that, and we have individuals both from our faculty, our support team, and our current student to share experiences and stories, and this includes Dawn, Tina, and Alex. So I'm going to turn it over to them to do a little bit of an introduction about themselves.
Thanks, Tori. Hi, folks. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Don Kerr. I'm chair of the undergraduate programs in Thunder Bay, and I also work closely with the undergraduate programs in Aurelia, so I can answer a little bit about the questions there. My area as a professor is philosophy of education, so I teach when I'm not doing administrative work. I teach courses in philosophy of education and in social justice and equity in the classroom.
Hi, thank you for coming today. I'm Tina. I'm the program administrator for the Faculty of Education, and I support Dr. Kerr with student advising and the faculty reports that are sent to the Ontario College of Teachers for recommendation. I basically make sure that students are on track to graduate.
That's an important thing, for sure.
And I'm also alumni of the Con Ed program.
And Alex.
Hi, everyone. I'm Alex. So I'm in my 6th and final year of my concurrent education program. I'm currently in the Bachelor of Education in my 2nd year of that, and I'm an IS student, and my teaching is physical education and general science.
Fantastic. And I forgot to mention that my colleague on the line with us today, Melissa, is also a graduate of the education program. Melissa, you did PJ, correct?
Yes, I did, at the Thunder Bay campus.
Awesome. So we have lots of experts on the line to help guide and support you. And before we delve too much into specifically our concurrent education program, I want to just share a little bit of information about Lakehead. We do realize a number of you on the webinar today may be current Lakehead students that are now looking at adding that consecutive education degree to your options, and that's fantastic. But we also know there's lots of individuals out there that are maybe exploring Lakehead for the first time, and we're we're so excited that you've taken some time to escape and really learn a little bit more about how unique Lakehead is, and that we can offer an educational experience that is anything but ordinary. So over the next 45 to 60 minutes, and it depends on how many questions you ask us as well for how long this webinar goes. I know a lot of you have said, this is my lunch hour, so please keep it to 30 minutes or 60 minutes. We're going to try to do that as well. But we're going to explore kind of what it's like to be a Lakehead student, all that we offer you both inside and outside the classroom, and everything that is going to be available to you once you have that Lakehead degree in hand. So Lakehead University grads really cite about our connection and our small class sizes that leads to success. And in fact, many times they talk about that influence a professor has had with helping them along their journey, because the type of experience at Lakehead is very unique and very different, and we get to know our students very much on a personal level. We love to connect our learning and experiences to real world experience, and our education program is really a flagship of that, with the amount of practical in-school teaching days that you get. And by providing you with these types of opportunities to learn beyond the classroom, you get to take your expertise into that local community, with that local school, with that local school board. So you're not only gaining knowledge, but you're also gaining those practical, relevant skills that will position you so well into the future. And one thing we talk about all the time, and we have a bunch of stats on this screen for you, is really we're proud of not only our small class sizes, but our connection to undergraduate research as well. For the last 5 years, Lakehead University has been named Canada's #1 undergraduate research institution. Now, we also want to ensure that we're supporting and fostering our students through this process, and we are truly a multicultural campus where we celebrate cultures, traditions, and backgrounds of all of our students, and we recognize that students are individuals, and you all come in with unique supports to reach those goals, and we're there to help and support you. So whether that's the supports that you get with our professors knowing you by name and committing to supporting you academically, financially, socially, culturally, and in so many different ways, we really do believe that students have the highest potential for success with that Lakehead University degree. So academically, we're going to support you with health and wellness. We have lots of supports in place. We have an accessibility team as well. And then we support you from the career end of things as well. And we're going to talk about many of those things within our webinar today. I'm not going to focus too much on this stat. So this stat is a Lakehead University stat for the university for all of our programs. But we know that one of the reasons you're here today is that career, and that future career is an important decision on attending Lakehead University. And as we delve more into our consecutive education program, we're going to chat a little bit more about our grad stats. Awesome. So I am now going to turn it over to the experts on the line with me today, and let them talk a little bit more about what we have to offer as far as our consecutive education program.
Super. Thanks, Tori. I'll just give a brief overview about doing education in Ontario and at Lakehead. So you probably all know that education is a 2-year program, or it takes 2 years to get an education degree in Ontario. There's 2 main paths to do that. There's the way that Alex did, or is completing, for example. That's a concurrent program where you do your undergraduate degree and your BEd degree at the same time. And then there's the path, which I assume that most of the people who are here today are thinking about, and that's either you've completed an undergraduate degree, or you're in the process of completing your undergraduate degree, and then you apply to do a distinct 2 years, and we call that our consecutive program. But those last 2 years of both streams are very similar, are identical for both groups of people. So you would be doing what we call our professional program. It's a 2-year program. It's the 2 full academic years, and each term is 9 weeks, followed by a placement, 9 weeks and a placement. We have PJ and IS programs. Our PJ programs are offered in both Orillia and Thunder Bay, and our IS programs are only available in Thunder Bay. In Ontario, PJ is up to grade 6, so kindergarten to grade 6, and IS is grade 7 through grade 12.
And you'll see here with this slide, it says want a job. And what we've noticed over the past couple of years is there's been an increase and a demand in teaching. And even this past year, there's been a lot of opportunities for our new graduates. Overall, we have a 95% success rate in our graduates finding work.
I can tell you that at the start of this year, we were getting lots of phone calls from boards across the province who are looking for teachers. And we know that boards are being forced right now to hire teachers who aren't fully qualified on a temporary basis. So there's certainly a lot of work. It's a very busy year, but we expect it to stay busy like this for some time yet.
So I'm just going to post a question to you, Tina and Dawn. We just had a question come through the Q&A regarding an individual who has a BA in psychology and is looking at going into the 2-year consecutive education program and just concerned about the demand for teachers and the likelihood of receiving a job for new teachers. So I know you've touched on that a little bit already, Tina. Can you expand on that a little bit, on the demand that we're having, not only within Ontario right now as well?
Well, I think with a BA in psychology, the person would be qualified for the primary junior level. And you need an overall 70% average in order to get into our consecutive programs. So as long as all of those qualifications are met, I would say that the prospects are good.
I think they were looking at the employment opportunities more than the process, that whether or not they're going to be accepted. So what they're, you know, in Ontario, we've heard a little bit about it being challenging for teachers to find employment upon completion of a consecutive education degree. Can you just chat a little bit about how that industry is really changing for demand?
So about 5 years ago,
Yeah.
maybe another year or two longer than that now, we switched from the 1-year to the 2-year program. And at that point, we felt that it seemed to be there was a glut in the market of teachers. But there was also a decrease in the number of students overall at that point, and that has worked through the system now. So we're finding now that there's like an increase every year in terms of demand for teachers, for our graduates. For the last few years, though, our graduates have been traveling off around the world and getting jobs as well. So there's always been demand. If you're from Northern Ontario or you're interested in spending some time in Northern Ontario, there's always demand in some of the communities around us, in communities across Northern Canada. And there's opportunities around the world. We have boards in Alberta and so on who are looking for teachers to hire. So it hasn't all been bad. It's actually been very good for the last few years.
And I think
Do you
too.
mind if I add something? Sorry.
Sure.
Sorry. I was just going to say, I know news just came out, I think a couple weeks ago, that the Minister of Education has changed the requirements for getting hired as a teacher as well. It used to be a lot based off seniority, and now they've scrapped that. So it looks a lot better for newer teachers who want to get in too.
And I think with the online, it's really opened up new opportunities for teaching. And as we look at the benefit of online learning.
So we have a very active Q&A going on with tons of questions coming at us, and that's fantastic. That's exactly what I would like to see. I want to move on a little bit because many of the questions that are coming in through the Q&A are areas we're going to chat about as we talk about divisions and teachables and the difference between the programs. So I'm going to throw it back over to Tina to talk a little bit about the history of our program and our locations.
So just a little blurb about our history. Teacher education has been part of post-secondary education in Northwestern Ontario for over half a century. The Lakehead Teachers College had its first intake of students in 1960, and in 1961 it opened in the building that's now known as the Borlaskin Building. Lakehead University was established 4 years later, and the Teachers College officially joined Lakehead University in 1972 as the Faculty of Education. The Faculty of Education has evolved into a comprehensive faculty spanning 2 campuses. A second campus at the Heritage Place in downtown Orillia was established in 2006 and opened in September 2010. Today, our goal is to is to provide excellent academic programs that develop exceptional teachers that promote social, environmentally responsible educators, researchers, and policymakers.
So we're going to delve in now and talk a little bit about divisions and teachables. That seems to be an area that individuals have lots of questions around. So the first one we're going to talk about is the primary junior division.
So we offer the primary junior program on both our campuses. If you don't need specific teachables to be a primary junior teacher, but you should have it's good to have a good background in your undergraduate degree with perhaps some English courses, some science courses, as broad a background as you can have. One thing we have is a math competency test for all of our incoming PJ teachers or students. So you have 4 chances to pass the math competency test. It's not set at a very high level. It's approximately a grade 7 knowledge level, grade 6, 7 math knowledge level. But we use this to see where your math knowledge is at. And the point of doing this is for those people who need to learn more math or who would like their math to be stronger, we put on a number of supports through the 2 years that you could be here in the program. So the point of this is to see where our future teachers are at in terms of their math knowledge, and then we put on a variety of supports and additional classes for students so that they can improve their math knowledge and bring it up to where you want it to be so that you can teach. That's our math competency test. In Thunder Bay, we've organized our PJ program in pods, we call them. So the pod is a fantastic experience. The pods are located in an elementary school in Thunder Bay. So if you're here in Thunder Bay, you actually do 1 day a week of your classes out in a local elementary school. And there'll be 2 instructors from the faculty in that school working with you. And they've built relationships with the people in the school. And over your time there, you would start to go out into some of the classes where teachers are teaching their students and observe what they're doing, or perhaps practice teach a small lesson. I've gone in and observed our students doing a small mini teaching lesson and someone else recording them on their camera and then talking about it afterwards and saying, oh, this went really well, this didn't go so well. And then there'll be groups of students coming through, so they do it over and over and they get a chance to practice and learn, and they give each other feedback and the teachers come around and give them feedback. It's a really fantastic opportunity for our PJ students. I think this is actually one of the strengths of our program. It's a really great opportunity. The people who teach the pods are experienced teachers from our local boards. And as I said, they've got really good relationships with the principals and with the teachers in the schools. That's true for all of our classes, all of our PJ classes in Thunder Bay. And we're also starting to offer this in smaller numbers in Aurelia, hopefully for all of our PJ students in Aurelia soon.
Don, one question we had was if we're looking at the PJ program, so the primary junior program, and you kind of touch on it, is there a difference between studying in Thunder Bay versus Aurelia? And, you know, and you've talked about the pod system. I believe Aurelia uses a cohort system, which is a little bit different than the pods as well.
So the cohorts really are that those students take all or almost all of their classes together in a cohort. So it's perhaps what you imagine a cohort to be. I think the main difference for a student from Southern Ontario would be that in Thunder Bay, students they're either here or they move to Thunder Bay, whereas in Aurelia, it's very much a commuter campus. And so you have to think about whether you also, depending where you're starting from, you've also got that commute. But the program is very much the same program.
Awesome. So we do have some more questions about that. I'm going to move on into the intermediate and senior because many of the questions we have specifically around the PJ, Thunder Bay and Aurelia are connected to placements. And so I want to make sure we can cover that before we start going into the questions and answers. So I'm going to flip it over into our intermediate and senior division. I believe Tina is covering these ones for us.
So the intermediate senior must take courses in 2 teachable subjects. Students must have a minimum of 5 full courses in their first teachable and a minimum of 3 full courses in their second teachable. And of course, when we talk about intermediate senior, we're talking about grades 7 to 12 or high school. And students always wonder, well, how do you choose your teachable? Just think about something that you love, because you are going to spend a whole career teaching this subject. So make sure you really enjoy it. The IS division is only available in Thunder Bay at this time. Teachables. Here, there's a list of 17, but I just want to say that you do graduate with 2 teachables, but maybe you want to teach something else later on. You can take additional qualification courses in order to teach other subjects. You're not in any way limited to 2 subjects. The demand right now, which has been demand for many years, is teaching in science, teaching math, and teaching French. If you would like a teachable in music, visual arts, or phys ed, you will require a degree in those areas. And if you have teachables in French, you need 5 courses in both a first teachable and a second teachable. And of course, if you have a teachable in French at the IS level, you will have to pass the DELF exam, and you would require 70%. If you want to be a French teacher at the elementary level, then you would also need to pass a DELF and make sure that you qualify for a core placement in French. You would also need the DELF exam.
Awesome. So while we're just kind of on teachables and divisions before we move on to kind of what the typical 2-year looks like, I'm wondering if either yourself or Dawn could comment on AQs, because it's kind of not directly related to our consecutive education program, but we do get lots of questions about that. And there is one about, once you're qualified to teach maybe at the primary junior division, how would you go about qualifying to teach maybe at the intermediate senior division, vice versa, or to get qualified in teaching at, in a different area, different teachable? So could one of you comment on that, just so our attendees have an idea on how that works?
So your certification is for particular divisions. So you would graduate, say, in the PJ divisions or in the IS, and we would recommend you to the College of Teachers when you successfully complete the program. But once you've been teaching for a couple of years, lots of teachers go back and they take courses called ABQs or AQs. So those are additional qualifications. And if you're a teacher in Ontario, you take additional qualifications courses to change your, to add teachables, to change the division you're teaching at. Perhaps you want to be a specialist in an area, you want to teach special ed or something like that. So you take AQ courses. They're usually offered online. We certainly offer a lot of them at the faculty. And many of our students, most teachers will go back and take AQ courses over their career, at least for the first few years of their career, to expand what they can teach and where their expertise lies. So we offer AQ. So you could train, say, to be a PJ teacher, and then over the course of the next few years, take a couple of ABQ courses and also be able to teach at the high school level as well, or vice versa. Is there a specific question, Tori, that's there?
There was 2. So one was just if they did PJ, how they could migrate into IS. And the main thing to understand, if you are looking at doing a PJ and looking at doing an additional qualification afterwards for IS, is ensuring that you have those teachables that can move into your IS division. And so that's one thing that students that are looking at coming into PJ that doesn't require teachables, to be aware of that you do have those. Your undergrad degree is something that can be taught at the intermediate or senior level. And then the other question was whether it's something they can do online. So doing those additional qualifications, whether it's something they have to physically come back into a campus to do that. And I think you touched on that, Dawn. That
all of ours are offered online now.
Yeah, they're offered online. Awesome. So we're going to move into kind of just looking at a typical schedule for the 2-year program. Tina, did you want to chat about this for us a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, I thought this would be valuable to provide a little snapshot of what you will experience. We offer a wide variety of courses to capture the role of the teacher in today's classroom, as well as electives for personal interest. Our program runs from September to April each year. Unfortunately, I get this question all the time, and unfortunately, we don't admit students in the winter term, and we don't offer professional program courses in the summer. It's just September to April each year.
So can you talk a little bit, we have a question in the Q&A for someone who's looking at commuting into the Aurelia campus in the PJ division and wondering what a typical week schedule would look like. And I think this would apply to Thunder Bay, so maybe Alex can talk about this a little bit from her perspective as well. So how many hours are students typically in class? And yeah, so let's talk about that first. The other part of the question is regarding placements. Tina, did you want to go first and just kind of, are you able to comment about hours in class?
Sure, it's 3 hours a week for a class. And you take, in the first term, you take 5 classes, and then in the second term, you take another 5, and they're worth, I believe, 0.5. So you end up at the end of your degree having 10 courses taken. So 5 each year.
And I will let
Are you asking me to do math?
Hey, we have a math requirement for this program.
I'm IS.
No, we do get this question quite a bit, especially for the Aurelia campus, for students that are looking at the PJ division for coming in, whether it's commutable. And I will tell you, we have lots of students that do commute into the Aurelia campus specifically for the PJ program. And so some of those students commute for an hour plus from outside of the region. Of course, you know, that is a personal decision. There are advantages for living close to campus because there's a lot of group work and assignments that students often work together in small groups or access the educational library outside of class. But that is a personal decision. If you feel that you can be successful within the program and you don't want to secure an alternate accommodation for the time that you're in classes versus on placements, it is doable. And we have had students that have been successful doing that. Alex, do you want to talk a little bit about your time in class last year, maybe in the first year of your program, your education program?
Yeah, sure. For my first year, it was the normal year, so it was all good. I think we probably had, I want to say 15 to 20 hours a week for class that you're in your classrooms and learning from your professors. Obviously, there's going to be homework and meeting with groups on top of that. Yeah, a whole bunch of other stuff. You have observation days usually too, so it's a lot of stuff going on. But I'd say traveling would be doable for sure. Even working is doable with the course load. So, yeah.
Oh, you're muted, Tori. You're muted, Tori.
Awesome, that's fantastic. This is welcome to webinar days. That's not unusual for those things to happen. Awesome. So we're going to move on and talk a little bit about placements. So there's lots of questions around placements and how our placements work. And Lakehead does provide some really unique opportunities in the form of placements, and that's due to the number of in-class teaching days that we provide our students in the education program. So Dawn or Tina, I'm not too sure who's talking about this one.
Yeah, I'll start off. I'll just warn you, my internet seems to be very unstable all of a sudden and unusually. So if I cut out, Tina can take over. The minimum number of placement days for teacher education, according to the college, is 80 days. So you need to have 80 days of placement in order to become certified as a teacher. Our program is 105 days split over 4 practicums. So we have, for students who are struggling or students who there's more things that they want to try out in the classroom, there's 105 days of placement. For students who do their first 80 days and who have done really well and have learned a lot and are feel very strong at that point, we also offer alternative practica for our 4th placement. And the alternative placement might be travel to a foreign country to teach. Many of our students take the opportunity to go to another province in a country where they're thinking they might want to be working in a couple of years. There might be a particular interest. So we've had students who are interested in special education, and the normal placement wouldn't place you in a special education class, but this might be your opportunity to go into a special education class or an environmental ed center if you're interested in environmental education, something like that. There's lots of opportunities for the 4th alternative placement. The first placement, as a general rule, so in non-COVID rules, we place people in the Thunder Bay area in one of our local boards here, and we work very closely with the teacher in the classroom. So that's usually a big challenge for students, right? Or it's the first big step. And so we work very closely. We provide a lot of supports to the students and to the teacher in the classroom. And for those who struggle, we put on additional supports as well. We bring them back to the faculty, we put on additional courses and so on. So we do things to really help students who have a challenge on placement. But most of our students do really well. So normally you would do your first placement either in the Thunder Bay area or fairly close to Orillia, in a little bit larger area around Orillia. And then if those go well, the next two placements can be anywhere in Ontario that we have a partner board, which is almost everywhere in Ontario. So if you live in Toronto, say, we can work with partner boards all around the GTA as one example. So lots of students will stay here in Thunder Bay for their second placement, but some will choose to say go home to where they're originally from because they're thinking that, you know, down the road that's where they'd like to get a job too. Alex, is there anything you want to add about placements?
I think placements are the best part of the program. I find personally, it's great way to learn. You have your associate teacher there to support you a lot, faculty advisor, faculty liaison. It's just a really good experience.
Good. And you would have done your first one in Thunder Bay, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
You're muted.
I'm trying to be respectful and leave my mic off for a little bit during this webinar, and I'm just causing more problems than it's worth. So we do have some unique streams available within our education program as well. And so I'm going to ask Dawn and Tina to comment on this. So our outdoor and experimental education option, our remote placement, and our Indigenous education as well.
So one of our teachables is environmental science, and we offer complementary courses around environmental science in outdoor education. So you can get a concentration in environmental science and outdoor education as one area of study in our program. That's in Thunder Bay at the IS level. We have everyone at Lakehead takes courses on Indigenous education, and that's a feature of our program, or something that we try to stress in our program. We certainly have a number of Indigenous students in our program, but every classroom in Ontario, or almost every classroom in Ontario, has got Indigenous students in it, and it's important that we have courses in Indigenous education throughout our program. Tina, was there something you wanted to add?
Some of our placements have been at outdoor recreation, or outdoor education sites like Kingfisher. We've had students placed in special, unique programs in the hospital, art museums. We're very creative up here in the north.
And that's the big advantage with our program, actually having those additional days. So that forced placement allows the students to have that flexibility to do a non-traditional type classroom experience if they've been successful in their other three placements. So, you know, a lot of times we talk about education degrees, and we talk about it really being your passport to the world. Teachers, of course, teach in traditional classroom settings, but there are so many other opportunities for individuals with education degrees to be employed in a variety of different industries and sectors, from museums, hospitals, and going internationally as well. Can you guys talk a little bit about our professional program on-site delivery that we have as part of our education program as well?
Or pod, do you mean?
Yeah. So how we do that professional delivery, the professional development days that we have as part of the program.
The seminar days?
Yes. Sorry, I wasn't being clear.
Okay. Yeah. So all students attend our seminar days, which run once a week usually for approximately the first month or so of courses in September, and then again in January. And in part, that's an opportunity for some of the other organizations like the College of Teachers, the Ministry of Education, and so on, to visit with our students and to pass on important information, the Elementary Teachers Federation, group bodies like that. But it's also our opportunity to do other things with our students that we wouldn't normally get to do. So for example, this year, we're putting on a lot of additional resources for students who will be teaching virtually in a way that they might not have gone to school, and certainly nobody's been prepared for before. So we're offering a number of workshops through those seminars, and actually we've increased the number of seminars this past fall, particularly for that. So we use the seminars to give our students additional information that they need with regard to teaching that they don't get in a lot of their coursework. Sometimes those seminars are used also for career fairs or for information around getting jobs. So it's often a place where we'll do things like, talk about the interview process, or we'll have people come in from HR departments from the local boards and so on.
So we just had a question, and I just want to clarify the answer to the question. So we had a student ask a question about placements and kind of misunderstood how the placements run. So the question was around, I'm attending the Aurelia-based program, so does that mean I'm still doing my placements in Thunder Bay? You are not. So if you are enrolled in our consecutive education program in Thunder Bay, typically your first placement will be connected to the Thunder Bay region, and that allows for that supervision, allows for getting you setting you up for success within that board and within the classroom. If you run into any issues or any challenges or any problems, you have a local connection to help support and mentor you through that process before we throw you a little bit farther afield as far as your placement opportunities and connections with alternate other boards go. If you are an Aurelia-based education student, your first placement will be within that local market as well. And our Aurelia market is a little bit larger than just Simcoe County. So Simcoe County is the county that we are connected with in Aurelia, but because we are so close to so many other areas, our teachers, our student teachers are often placed in partner boards close to Simcoe County as well. So Thunder Bay students do placements within the Thunder Bay region, and then Aurelia students do placements within the Aurelia region. Awesome. So I'm going to flip it back. I'm going to flip it over to Alex for a little bit, for her to share a little bit of her experience in our education degree and what has been some of the great moments and opportunities she's had so far.
All right. So I'm definitely going to be honest here. When I was applying to universities from high school, Lakehead was like a last minute choice that I threw in there because I thought it looked beautiful. And I was definitely right when I got to Thunder Bay. It's one of the most beautiful places, definitely in Ontario, that's for sure. The lake is beautiful. There's a lot of different hikes that you can go on. If you love to be outdoors in nature, it's a great place to go to school. There's a lot of genuine people there. I love the experience that I've gotten when I've actually been able to be in Thunder Bay and spending time with and meeting new people. We all kind of come from different places and gather in Thunder Bay, and it's really cool to all just kind of be all new to the area and all trying to sort through that together. It was a really good experience. Thunder Bay has a ton of different little coffee shops and restaurants and cute places to go and study. So that's another really big positive that I find. Another outdoors thing, if you like to go skiing, snowboarding, ice skating, another great chance to do that if you're in Thunder Bay. And the small class sizes was probably my biggest reason why I went to Thunder Bay or to Lakehead for 6 years. Especially in the education program, your class sizes are 20, 25 people max. So you get a lot of interaction and one-on-one time with your professors, and you get a lot of support that way, which is amazing. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Alex. And if anyone has any questions specifically for Alex, please post them in the Q&A. Now we're going to switch gears just a little bit and chat about applying. But before we move on, there are a number of questions in the Q&A around placements. And so I just want to get those covered. So we had a question regarding placements in Catholic boards. So are our students also placed in public and Catholic boards? I can see Don nodding his head. So the answer
absolutely.
is yeah.
We ask, so before the start of each term, someone emails all the students and says, what are your preferences? For instance, this year you could be at a local board. Which one of our partner boards would you like to be at, or is your preference Thunder Bay? Would you want to be at a public board or a Catholic board, and so on? So yeah, there's the opportunity. We work with both separate and public boards.
And we have a question with, sorry, Tina, did you want to add something there? I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, that was perfect.
Okay. So we have a question with someone's liking us to foresee the future, which is a challenging thing for us to do, but it's just regarding our 2021 year and how we foresee COVID impacting that. Now, it's very hard for us to know what's going to happen in September. We're more than happy to talk about how we've adjusted things and changed things for this year, and that may give you an idea on kind of what September 2021 would be like. So the question is kind of how potentially our program will be impacted in 2021 September start as a result of COVID, and how our placements are affected by this as well.
So I can say for this year, we are offering almost everything. Well, everything is available online. Every course is, but one is being run online, and everything is being offered online. So we didn't ask students to come to Thunder Bay or come to classes in Orillia. That was true for all programs across our campuses. What's going to happen next year? So, and then as we're moving towards placement right now, actually, many of our students are going out into schools on placement, and they're following the requirements in the schools and in each board for what the teachers have to do when they're in schools. And about half of our students will be on virtual placements. But even for most of those, it turns out, many of our students will be going into a site. So for instance, a teacher might be teaching virtually, but they're doing it from a high school, or they're doing it from a local board office or something like that. So our students who are actually teaching virtually are going into many of these sites. So they'll be working side by side with a teacher, which I think is a really good learning situation for when you're starting to learn to teach. What's going to happen next year? Well, I mean, we don't know in terms of COVID. If things remain bad, then I have no doubt that we will continue to offer everything online as much as possible purely for safety reasons, for health reasons. If we can start to return to a more normal life, it will be, I imagine, could be some combination of the two. I do think that one of the things that we'll learn out of this is that we will be much better at doing teaching virtually in general. Everybody will be. So I don't expect we will ever offer our whole program virtually, but I do expect that we'll offer more of it, or bits of it. So it might be that a student is in Thunder Bay taking 6 classes, and 3 or 4 of those might be face-to-face, and 1 or 2 of them might be online for a better sort of complement and way to work around one's own schedule and so on. So I do think that there will be some positives that way. Also, we've enabled our students to work virtually in a whole bunch of boards and a whole bunch of settings that they wouldn't otherwise be able to work. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to continue with that. I know that, for example, some of our regional partners here would love to have our students doing placements in their boards. And if we can set that up so that our students can do it virtually, or someone like Alex can do a placement from where she is with, in Kenora or in a small rural community in our region, that would be fantastic. So I'm hopeful that there will be more opportunities come out of this in the long run.
And that's the positive in COVID is when we hit challenging times, we have to rethink how we can do delivery, how we can teach and provide support to students. And it's made us, actually offer more opportunities as far as placements and unique opportunities for our students. So we did have a question regarding how our faculty assist students with virtual education. And I'm not too sure if this individual is asking whether that is a student within the school as a teacher, or whether that's them as a student within our program. And so how we assist students with virtual education.
Maybe we could ask Alex Alex, have you had an experience of supports from our faculty with regard to virtual education?
Yeah, the first one was already kind of mentioned, was the seminars. We've had quite a few on different platforms that we might be exposed to on our placement. And I find that our profs are doing a really good job at giving us little moments or opportunities to practice with this online platform before our placement. So, yeah.
Excellent.
And just
I can say that moving online was a huge challenge for everyone. And so we did a lot of work in the faculty for supporting our own instructors at the beginning. And I think it's really paid off. In September, I heard from a lot of instructors who were really nervous about the new year starting. And then within a few weeks, you kind of got these stories of people that were almost felt like they were experts all of a sudden, whatever the new platform was. So I think that that's been actually a big part of it. It's a big part that students don't see sort of as transparently, but I think that that's part of it as well.
And just to add to, this was a 3-part question. So is there a stream for a technical education?
There isn't yet, and there aren't actually very many. If you mean technical education in terms of teaching shop, what used to be called shop in schools, there isn't, and there are many opportunities in the province right now. And if you are seriously interested in that, we're in the process, our dean is trying to develop that within our faculty, so stay tuned. Maybe pay attention for the next couple of years. There aren't many opportunities, and often when a university offers this, they end up offering it for 1 or 2 years, and then they don't have enough students to keep the program going. So it may be that there are no opportunities right now in the province.
And then the last part of that question was, how do we plan curriculum for students with exceptionalities?
We have a lot of supports in the university for students who need support in any number of ways. So we have our student, I'm forgetting the name right now. What are they called?
Student accessibility services.
Yeah. So that's the prime point for most students who need additional supports would go there. We all work together to meet our students' needs. But all of our instructors too. I think the main thing is that all of our instructors are very supportive. So if a student says, I need this, and I mean, it can be so much as, I was talking to a student yesterday who walked out of a math exam, and an instructor was worried because they'd lost track of the student for a few days. And when I got hold of him, he said, I focused on this math exam. I'm feeling really good about this math exam right now, and I will get in touch with her now, and I'm hoping to work out. So it can be on an individual basis with an instructor or with the department. It can be through student accessibility services. It depends what the student needs.
So we have a question specifically for Alex. So Alex, this individual is wondering if you're familiar what it's like for students to study at Lakehead University, if their family comes with them. Now, I believe you're an independent student studying, so maybe can't comment specifically on the family, but just, that school life balance, maybe you can comment on.
Yeah, Lakehead, I feel like it's a really good place to go. You have a lot of different libraries that are available to you as an education student. You have the education library, you have the main Chancellor Patterson Library, and there's a lot of different places that you can go to kind of get away from your family, I guess, if that's kind of more of the question he was asking, for your own separate study space. Yeah, but I think having the work-life balance is easy to do if you keep your work in one place and keep your life in another.
And it is manageable. We have lots of students that we've mentioned commute into campus or have part-time jobs. Of course, this is a very personal decision, and every student comes into the program with different strengths and challenges. And so it's up to that student to decide how much they feel they can manage and be successful within the program. So I'm going to have one, sorry.
We also have daycare on campus. That must be true in Aurelia too.
We do not have a daycare in Aurelia. So Thunder Bay does have a daycare on campus. Aurelia does not, but we have a great childcare facility that's close to campus.
And we do get lots of students who sometimes as a couple they're in our program, or one of the other parents, single parents with kids. It's certainly not unusual in our program. It is a challenge around placements, and you do have to think, but that would be true in any situation. You do have to think about what you're going to do if you're responsible for childcare or family care. You have to free yourself up as much as you can for 5 weeks at a time.
So I'm going to ask one more placement question, and then we're going to move on to applying, because we have a lot of questions in the Q&A specifically around the application process as well. And so thank you everyone for your engagement today. This is fantastic. We hope that we're helping to answer your questions and provide you some more information about this program. But the question I have around that has been posted around placement is that this individual's heard that many of the Bachelor of Education program students are placed in one school per year. And if in our program, if the 4th year is non-traditional, does that mean that students are placed in a new school every semester, every placement? I think this is a great question.
I don't know that we could guarantee that you would always be in a different school in your second placement, but almost always that would be the case. It would be, the norm would be that you would be in a different school. Occasionally, you might be placed with a different teacher in the same school, or a different subject area if you're in high school. But usually you would be in a different school. And certainly over your 3 or 4 placements, you would be. You wouldn't be in the same placement all the time. Does that answer the question?
I think so. So can you, with our placements, so I know from experience within the Aurelia program, with the PJ, one placement they try to have between the junior kindergarten and the grade 3 division. So you get exposed to that kindergarten to up to grade 3, and your second placement would be exposed to your junior division, so your grade through grade 6. In Aurelia, they try to place you at different schools for each of your placements to provide you with great variety. And also you have to think about your placements as an introduction to that school board, getting your name out there, getting to meet individuals that may be your future employer as well. So having that variety in placement and location is an advantage for students. Tina, did you have anything else that you wanted to add to that?
I think our placement officer here in Thunder Bay does her best to provide as many new experiences for the students as possible and capture, any requests that they have.
Yeah, and I think that'll just add, we just had a question, can we guarantee placements are in Thunder Bay if you're studying in Thunder Bay? And as we mentioned, both our placement officers in the Aurelia campus and in the Thunder Bay campus works very hard within the school divisions and the areas to place students on their choices. And so students do provide that information to us on where they'd like to be placed and options around that. But of course, that's all dependent on the number of students that we have in the program, the number of schools and boards that are accepting students that year, and the diversity within the program. Awesome. So I'm going to move on because I know we have lots of people that are looking for information around admissions. A number of you on the line today only have lunch hour to be with us today, and I don't want to miss this information as well. So I'm going to hand it over to Tina to talk a little bit about the admissions process.
So you need an undergraduate degree, and we look at the last 10 full course equivalents, and we look to see that you have a 70% average. If you are in the IS, we need to see that you have 2 teachables, and often the admissions department will work with me and determine teachables on transcripts. And then, of course, for primary junior, we look for a variety of different subjects. We encourage mature students to apply. Of course, Indigenous students and students with disabilities are also encouraged. If you're a person with a disability who feel that you had been academically disadvantaged, you can outline this on a personal statement and submit it to Enrollment Services, and this will also be considered on your application. Preference will be given to applicants who present an honors degree or a degree with 20 full course equivalents.
And we've had quite a few questions regarding a competitive average and supplementary applications and how we rank students for acceptance into the program. Tina, was there anything that you wanted to start that discussion around?
Sure. We're primarily academic, so we don't look for experience profiles. We look to see that you've had that 70% average, and I think that's basically as competitive as it is. We just look for that average.
And we do have a number of individuals attending today that English is not their first language. And so you do have to meet English proficiency requirements for coming into the program. Now, if you do not meet those English language proficiency requirements, we do have a program at Lakehead that will assist students to meet those requirements prior to coming into the concurrent education program. So those requirements need to be met prior to starting your program. We do have some deadlines as well for our program, and so I have those up on the screen. So the application is directly through RT's application, and this is through the Ontario Application Center. It's the TEAS application you're going to apply to for the executive education program, sorry, losing track of which program I'm chatting about today. Some key deadlines up on the screen for you. So our application deadline, our deadline for us to receive the transcripts, our first, when we start providing offers, and then deadlines to accept and confirm, and then that final deadline for you to provide us with a proof of your degree completion. So yes, just to kind of reiterate that we have that 70% overall average that we're looking for coming into the program. And then if you're looking at the IS division, then we're looking at the teachables within the degree. So I'm just going to have a quick peek at Q&A before we move on to kind of the next part of the webinar.
Can I just add to the application process? If anyone has questions about it at all, please call our office. Tina answers questions about the application process all the time, or supports students who are, who have questions about it. If students have questions about their transcript, as Tina was saying, in terms of whether they have the requirements for a teachable, we're certainly happy to look at your transcript and say, yep, that would be a teachable in biology, or, you need another half a course or something.
So we had a question just regarding the number of students that we accept into the program and whether or not we would consider increasing our enrollment for the program based on demand within the industry.
Yes.
There you go. Okay, moving on. That was nice and easy. Good to go. So looking at requirements, do we accept, are there consideration for university courses, length of time the courses are completed? So how we evaluate mature students, maybe who have done things on a part-time basis versus full-time studies. So we do look at those credits. So we pull the average from the final 20 credits that you've taken as part of your degree. Now that may be confusing if you're outside of Ontario, because every province kind of evaluates your credit system a little bit differently in your degree. But that 20 credits is kind of equal to your final 2 years of your undergrad degree. That's where we draw that average for getting that 70%.
Sorry, I think you mean 10, right? 10 credits.
Oh, sorry. Yes, 10. Sorry, I'm making it even more confusing now. So 10 credits. Yes, your final 2 years.
Part-time study would not be an impediment at all. That would be great.
Yeah.
Happy to see students with lots of different experiences.
Okay, I'm just seeing what else we have. So mature students. So if you're a mature student, some of these questions are probably a little bit more very specific that you may want to reach directly out to Tina. And Tina, you can maybe throw your email address into the chat there for students attending so they can connect with you specifically. We had a question about our numbers. So how many students do we generally admit into our programs? Do either of you have those numbers kind of handy?
Say it again, Tori. How many?
How many do we accept into the PJ division in Aurelia and into our PJ and IS divisions in Thunder Bay?
I can't remember what the cutoff. I can't remember in Aurelia, but I think there was approximately 200 or more than 200 first-year students in Aurelia this year.
Yeah.
And we have about 150 this year. Sorry, not all PJ though, in Thunder Bay. Close to 100. PJs.
All right, well, I'm going to take a pause from Q&A, and there's lots in there. Melissa, if you have a few moments, there's one regarding tuition. If you're able to pull tuition costs off of the website, that would be fantastic, and you can post it right in the question if you have the ability to do that. If not, we can get it answered for you as well.
I'll take a look here.
Awesome, thank you. So we are going to do some more Q&A. I just want to move on and chat a little bit about connecting with us. So for those of you that have to jump off shortly, I don't want you to miss the final couple of slides as well. So we are thankful that you've taken some time to share a part of your day with us and have the chance for us to share how much we love Lakehead University. And we really do want you to experience Lakehead. And one of the best ways, of course, is to experience it by coming for a tour. But unfortunately, based on the current situation, we're not able to offer in-person tours at this time. We're working really hard to create a safe in-person tour experience, hopefully later this fall or into the winter semester. But please continue to check our website for updates regarding that opportunity to visit us in person. Until then, we do have an amazing virtual tour available, and you can do that and tour both of our campuses that way. So this is a great way to connect with us virtually and kind of walk around our campuses and check out our buildings as well. In addition to campus tours, we also invite you to a lot of our upcoming events. We do have open house coming up shortly, and open house is a great way to meet and greet with faculty, meet with current students through our student panels, meet your future professors, and ask a lot of questions regarding programming and your future. And so this year, open house is offered virtually. Registration is open, so you can check out our virtual open house taking place on Wednesday, November the 9th from 4 till 8 p.m. and register today for that. We also understand today is just the beginning for you. And, you know, while our time on this webinar is coming to an end, we do want you to stay in touch with us so we can help support and guide you through those next steps. You can follow us through social media and kind of see what it's like to really be a Lakehead student. You can visit us online. You can stay in touch with us directly. We're here to help you. We want to hear from you. We want to answer your questions. And we really want to invite you to open your world to an exceptional and unconventional education. Lakehead really loves to be a part of that journey and part of that adventure, and we really look forward to helping and supporting you through that process as well. So we're just going to have a quick peek at the Q&A and see if there was a few that we can just answer before we close out the webinar for today. So one question was around applications. Can students apply to multiple campuses and multiple streams? So you can. So if you are interested in maybe applying to PJ in Aurelia and PJ in Thunder Bay, you can do that. You would have to eventually make a decision if you're accepted into both campuses on what campus you would like to attend. Just seeing what else. We had some questions around kinesiology, and I know, Alex, this is kind of where your degree as well. So this individual has a major in kinesiology with a minor in English, looking at applying to the IS program. And this was regarding references and experience profiles. So as mentioned in the admissions component, we do not require a supplementary application into our education program. So we are looking at purely on your academics and your post-secondary experience prior to coming in. I'm just seeing what else we haven't done. Lots of kin students on here today. Alex, so do you want to just mention a little bit about the placement that you have starting next week, correct?
Yeah, sure. Even my first placement too was in the physical education classroom. So that's what my upcoming one is again as well, which is very great for me. That's what I'm super interested in with the kinesiology. And I'm sure if you're here from kinesiology, that's probably what you'd like to do too. So it's definitely available for us to do phys ed placements. A lot of my other colleagues who are in the phys ed stream as well, we've all been getting a lot of phys ed placements, so it's great.
Awesome, thank you so much. And it's great for Alex to join us today. So I'm just going through, so there was a question regarding, yeah.
I saw one question with regard to, do some teachables, you have a better chance of admission with some?
That's the one I was gonna ask you, fantastic.
You don't. So long as you meet our requirements, we would accept you in with any teachable. So apply for the teachables in the areas that obviously your background, and as Tina said earlier, in the areas that you really love or the things that you would like to teach. You have a better chance of getting work in some areas. So for instance, if you can teach French, there's has always been, or seems to be, this ongoing demand for French, but certainly lots of other areas as well. So science, math, many areas. So apply for what you like to do.
Yes, because that's what you're going to be doing for the rest of your education. So definitely you want to do what you're passionate about as well. Awesome. So I think everyone's kind of had a chance to ask a lot of questions. I know there's a few unfinished questions in the Q&A, but I don't want to hold up any more of your day today as well. Tina, I believe you posted some information in the chat, so that's fantastic for anyone who would like to connect with our education department afterwards. I will be doing follow-up with everyone who has attended the webinar today, and so my contact information will be on the follow-up, and should you wish to be connected with individuals either out of the Thunder Bay campus or the Aurelia campus with more program-specific questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to me, and then I can make those connections as well. Awesome. Well, I think that is about it. It has been a busy, busy hour, and I want to first of all thank my fellow panelists for being involved today. Huge thanks to Alex for being our student voice on our webinar today and providing a little bit of that student perspective. Thank you to Tina and Dawn for all of their knowledge and expertise and information they shared in regards to the education program, and also a big thanks to Melissa helping me behind the scenes with some of the Q&A and polling questions. Most of all, we'd like to thank you guys, our attendees, our prospective students, our applicants, for carving out a little bit of time today and share a little bit of all that we love the most about Lakehead, and we look forward to you becoming a student with us in the years well, hopefully in September. So thanks so much, guys, for hanging out with us today, and we look forward to connecting with you again shortly. Have a great rest of the day.